Awesome. How you doing, everybody? My name is Nico Smith, and thank you again to Nefertiti Venture Cafe for having me. Throughout this conversation, I'm really excited to to discuss some of the things that we've discovered in order to either ease the technological lift inside the classroom or generally draw awareness throughout our everyday actions as both entrepreneurs, educators, edupreneurs, and people interested in the safety of our children. With that said, that's all that I have to say. I'd like to pass it on over to Veda.
Yes, thanks, Nico. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. My name is Veda Woods. I'm hoping today to be able to share, along with Nico and Barrington, specifically about how you can leverage cybersecurity and really leverage that towards promoting social good. And so I really want to talk about some tactics and some methodologies and approaches that our nonprofit Protect Us Kids Foundation actually implements and explain how you can actually leverage certain technologies specifically within intelligence, data security, data analytics, and things of that nature to really help promote and to protect our children specifically within rural, underserved, and marginalized communities globally. So very excited to be here. And I will pass it off to Barrington.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barrington. I'm a high school student who just graduated, or I just graduated from being a high school student going to college. Today, I'm here to really listen up to what everyone has to present, but also share something that I've been coming up with recently regarding cybersecurity with a cybersecurity card game. It's called Cyber Threat Defender, and I hope I can present that today and you guys really enjoy. So.
Amazing. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to first, I guess, I'll speak about some really interesting things I feel that might normalize the battlefield or the teaching ground, the teaching arena for educators. And what it is kind of a concept. It's something that I've been kicking around and it has grown legs and sprouted the ability to sprint forward and assist everyone. The name of the project is called the Free Range Socks Project. And what I'm proposing is leveraging virtual environments in order to normalize the educational experience. Now, what does that mean? Quite often when we start thinking about education, I tend to think back to when I was in school. I come from Chicago, impoverished community. We didn't have the best equipment to work with. So of course, my educational experience suffered just a little bit. Now, if we fast forward to today, where we have students and we're supposed to be in the technological age, why does my past have to be today's future? So what I've done is I've acquired a few virtual machines, and through those virtual machines, I'm creating small computers so that no matter where that student is, no matter what your school district is, your budget for actual physical hardware, as long as you have a access to an internet browser, what I'm trying to do is bridge that gap, that technological gap that might exist for people in underserved communities. And what they'll do is in turn, increase the educational experience. We'll also have people who are more attentive to class. Now, a very key point where this becomes very relevant is with the pandemic and remote learning. With remote learning, a couple things started to become very apparent very quickly. One, we're starting to require parents to be teachers, right? And our regularly trained teachers understand how difficult a task that is. Can you imagine the parent that's often working 2 to 3 jobs in order to support the family? Also, we also discovered that there's a missing a missing requirement that might not have been considered, and that is the technological means. Do the students have the computers that they need to satisfy the coursework or the course material? Well, I had the opportunity to work with a friend back in Chicago, and I discovered in the Inglewood community that wasn't always true. And from that experience, she reached out, said, "Hey, do you have a solution?" And this is kind of what I come up with. I set up remote servers, and two of her students were able to dial in, hop on, and then surf the internet, and not only surf the internet, but do schoolwork from the tablets that they had, because they didn't have fully functioning computers. So what I'm proposing is, or starting to try and ask the question about is, what type of technological means are at our disposal, and can we use those things in order to improve the educational experience for our young minds? And with that, I'll pass it on to Veda, because I'm sure that she'll have a lot of input onto this topic.
Absolutely, Nico, and it's interesting. I too am from Chicago, so like minds, and so definitely can relate. Inglewood, as a matter of fact, so can definitely relate to the great work that you're working on. For Protect Us Kids in particular, the reason why we came into fruition is because it became very apparent that young people within rural, underserved, and marginalized communities were not necessarily prepared for the advent of technology, especially in respect to most within this particular demographic are pretty much living their lives and trying to survive from day to day. And their level of awareness in regards to the realm of what's happening in the digital space is very much limited in scope to how they're just using their technology to communicate, right? Whether that's through social media, chat rooms, et cetera. Anything outside of that in terms of the digital space causing them harm, it's very challenging for them to kind of think of how that's possible. Because to them, you know, we're online, we're talking, this isn't anything that's physical per se, and it's just a means of communication. Very early on, we're very much aware that young people within rural, underserved, and marginalized environments tend to be the most vulnerable and easily exploited for a variety of different nefarious activities. And online, especially, they tend to be hidden in plain sight, right? And there's not a lot of statistical information or data on how many children overall, let alone children within the demographic that we serve. And so looking at from a digital standpoint and understanding based on the work that we're doing and the technologies that we're using to identify perpetrators on the web who are taking advantage of children, but also the imagery and the amount of data that exists in regards to our youth within that particular demographic, what they're doing online, instances in respect to how technology is influencing teen suicide. What does that look like within rural, underserved, and marginalized communities, and how many of those children are actually leveraging technologies like Facebook, live stream, et cetera, to help facilitate certain acts that's causing them harm or they're losing their life. And so we thought first and foremost to really focus on a different way in terms of getting the message across and providing resources and tools to young people so that they can basically help themselves. Because when they're online, there is no one between them and the entity that they're communicating with, right? It's pretty much free for all. And they can express themselves as free as they need to be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But the challenge is that there are others who perpetuate identities and feigned relationships to gain access to young people, especially vulnerable youth in particular. And young people are not able to decipher the difference between reality and the digital space. And so we have a variety of different methods in terms of how we provide that awareness. And one of the key things is partnering with mental and behavioral health, because mental and behavioral health understands what's actually happening within the communities that Nico talked about, for example, like the South Side of Chicago. And more often than not, these young people are coming through and receiving services. And more often than not, some of the things that they are actually being exposed to just in their physical space, for example, sexual abuse, domestic violence, et cetera. They're 9 times out of 10 leveraging technology with encountering all of those altercations. And so we immediately want to work with mental and behavioral health so we can tailor our curriculum to the communities that we serve. And we want to be culturally sensitive to those environments. So the awareness that we would provide, for example, on the South Side of Chicago would look very different than the awareness we would provide within the slums of Bangladesh, of which we have some grassroots presence, or in Pakistan, right? Or even in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. It would be very, very different. So we need to make sure that we align ourselves with the mental and behavioral health community to help us with that. Another aspect in terms of how we're leveraging technology is we're taking that information that we receive from mental and behavioral health, and it provides us an opportunity to have some rather unique indicators that we can share to our technology partners, as well as our intelligence and law enforcement partners as well, right? And this information is really to provide them a different lens and an approach into their current investigations. So perhaps they're not necessarily looking at things from what we like to call on the field, on the ground level. And we want to make sure that we can provide them a different insight and perspective in regards to what's actually happening in real time amongst these children and what they're doing online. And then the third part of this is partnering with many of you who have an interest, of course, in education, with academia. And that's really making sure that we partner with the graduate school population, their capstone projects. We serve as their client. In turn, we provide the curriculum in support of the social issues that are occurring. The graduate students have an opportunity to have something that is they can see where cyber is something that is impactful within that community. And in turn, we're able to take that information. It's validated research, right? And we take that information and we're able to leverage that and aggregate that up with other open source information that we have from our partners, as well as other external entities, and really be able to create a data analytic platform in support of our data collection efforts within Protect Us Kids. And this is really, providing us the ability to actually be able to receive disaggregated, estimates of the number of child commercial sexual exploitation amongst children and those victims as well. And we're also able to do that with our coordination, like I stated, with those government entities, as well as understanding and making the line of demarcation between the differences that exist between different trafficking types, the type of victims, their socioeconomic background, and we leverage technology and those data analytic platforms to help us tell the story. So there's, as you can see, there's a variety of different ways to leverage all of these technologies. But I would be really interested to hearing what Barrington would like to lend to the table after hearing Nico and I kind of talk at a very high level of how we are leveraging technologies for our efforts.
That was a transition to me?
That was a transition to you, Barry.
Got you. All right, sorry about that, I didn't catch on. So yeah, in the beginning I was talking about how I wanted to present Cyber Threat Defender, which is the cybersecurity card game that I really want to put out there for K through 12 students to pick up cybersecurity, because I believe that it's a very user-friendly game. It's more digestible for the younger generation, and it's just in general it's fun. So let me pull up the slides for that.
Hey, Barrington, while you're pulling up your slides, do you mind if I interject something really quickly?
Go ahead.
So I talked about a platform in the initial beginning about how we as educators, as people who need to interact within the technical space educationally could go forth and do that type of thing. And follow with that was Veda talking of informing us of how children there's a lot of different ways that children can become victimized inside the digital terrain. And there's a need for awareness and education in that way. And here we have Barrington that has a very awesome game that's kind of illuminating those strides that help us become a little bit more intelligent as we, or the children as we move forward inside of this environment. So again, I'd like to thank you for coming on to share what you have, and I'm looking forward to what you got in store for us.
Gotcha. Right. There you go. Let me know if you guys can all see the slideshow.
Yep, I can see.
All right. So this is Cyber Threat Defender. I don't know if you guys can all see the chat as well, but Brian put in there, it's a very fun game to play. It definitely was. We did a little rundown in another Zoom session / meeting, and he beat me, but he learned a lot of stuff through cybersecurity inadvertently, and I feel like I could say the same for myself. It's really fun, and it's a really good learning experience. So Cyber Threat Defender, I'm just going to go through basic like the general, like how do you play basically. So Cyber Threat Defender is a turn-based game. Before you start playing, you'd want to declare who goes first. You can do it through something traditionally like rock, paper, scissors, or rolling the dice. Who gets a higher number can decide who goes first. So during the player who goes first, their turn, they play up to 3 cards from your hand. To get a better visual of this, I heard someone told me that, what was his name? Sorry, let me see. Ben DeSantis, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yep.
That you had cards in front of you. Would you mind showing everyone?
Sure. Give me 1 second here.
No problem, no problem.
All right, so I have cards in front of me.
All right. Yep. See, he has a standard deck right there. So the standard deck is made up of 50 cards. And if you don't mind opening up the cards and showing.
Yeah.
You can be the you can give the scenario of how to play. I'll just walk you through it. Yes.
All right, so I have the cards.
All right. And now, basically, you'd find a ISP connection and desktop computer from that deck. Just look for those 2 cards, and they should be at the top, like the title of the card.
All right, I got them.
All right. And then, so you'd place that down on what we call it for the sake of time, we just call it the battlefield, quote unquote, the battlefield. So that'd be right in front of you. And then after that, you'd shuffle your cards.
Okay. Okay, I'm shuffling.
And then once you're done shuffling, you draw up to 7 cards from that deck.
All right. Okay, I got 7.
All right. Now, during your turn, then, you can play up to 3 cards from your hand. There are 4 different types of cards in this game. There are something called asset cards, which are the cards that you picked up and placed on the battlefield just now. Attack cards, which are red. Asset cards are blue. Attack cards are red. Defense cards are green. And then event cards are yellow. You can play up to 3 cards from your hand. They can be duplicates of like the same type. So you can have 3 defense cards, 2 attack cards, 1 defense card, asset cards, whatever you want to mix and match. But you can't play more than 3 cards. The only type of card that is exempted from this rule is the event cards. Event cards can be played at any time, whether it be on your opponent's turn or your turn, or they can be played as many times as you want. So you can put down 4 event cards, more than 3. The only cards that have to stick to this rule are the asset, defense, and attack cards. When you're done playing your cards on your turn, this is probably the most complicated part of the game. The drawing step, I like to call it. If you have more than 5 cards in your hand, you have to discard until you have at most 5 cards. So pretend you're playing, I guess put down 2 cards. So you have 5 cards in your hand. Actually 6. So put down 1 card, sorry, my fault.
Yeah, put down 1 card. Okay.
All right, so now you have 6 cards in your hand. During your drawing step, you'd have to discard 1 card until you have 5 cards and then draw 2 cards to have a total of 7.
All right.
Now, if you had 5 cards, you wouldn't discard any cards because you're already at 5. That's the max pretty much. And then you draw 2 cards. If you have 4 cards, you just draw 2 cards because you're less than 5. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think so. I have 7 cards in my hand. Am I doing it right?
7, yeah, you're good. You're good for this situation. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, then that declares. So when you're done drawing, that declares that your turn is over. So then it would be your opponent's turn. They play their cards, up to 3 cards. Event cards can be played as many times as they want. And then after their turn is done, that declares the end of a round. So you go first, your opponent goes first, that's the end of a round. After the round is over, that's when scoring occurs. So scoring is, if you look if you could show the camera your asset cards.
Those are the cards I have in my hand, or those are the cards in front of me?
In front of you, sorry.
All right. There we go.
Yeah, so right there. At the top right, you can see a little box with a number on it. I don't know if the camera will probably focus on it, but it has the number 1. Yeah. So that tells you how many points you would accumulate after a round is over. The goal to win the game, you want to accumulate up to 30 points. So the first player to 30 points wins the game. So like I said before, you go first, your opponent goes first, that's the end of a round. You'd add up the amount of points that you have. So that's the number of assets or event cards you have on the field. And then that's how many points you accumulated when the round is over. So you keep going back and forth, and you'd see how many turns it would take to end the game. Usually a game takes around 25 minutes to finish up. And then there's another way to win. I forgot to mention. If you get your opponent to -45, now that is really tough to do, but it can be done through attack cards. Attack cards are the cards that deduct your opponent points. So if you could sift through your deck and try to pull up like a random attack card.
All right, I got it.
And then show it to the camera. And then at the top, oh sorry, that's an event card.
Oh. Give me 1 second here. All right, let me find it. Let me find the attack card. All right, here's an attack card.
Yeah, that one. So at the top right, it shows you the point values. If it's a 0, it's a 0. That's unlucky.
Here we go. I think I found the one you're looking for.
Yeah, sorry.
It's an attack card. It's negative points.
Yep, -1. So you deduct your opponent 1 point. So you keep doing that until they got to -45, if you can. As you were earning points through your assets, your opponent does the same thing with their assets, and their attack cards deduct you points, your attack cards deduct them points. So it's the first to 30 points or the first to -45. And event cards, while attack cards are offensive and negative towards your opponents, event cards can either be helpful or negatively impact your opponent. They can be helpful towards you or negatively impact your opponent. And asset cards just help you. So, and then defense cards defend from attacks. They defend from malware. There's examples of cards. There's like an antivirus card that it's pretty self-explanatory. It defends you from viruses that your opponent could cast, which are the attack cards. There's different attack cards that have different names. For example, the Trojan horse card, phishing cards, denial of service, the one that you just showed a while ago that had the 0 point value. That's a denial of service. So there's different defenses that you can put in place, just like in real life. There's different defenses, different protocols that people put in place through cybersecurity that help you counter some countermeasures to go against certain things. So yeah, that's pretty much like a quick summary of like the game, I guess, in general. Hopefully I explained that in a good way, but yeah, pretty much what it is.
Awesome. Thanks for giving us that pretty cool walkthrough, that pretty amazing demo. And I think one of the things that that this game gave us the opportunity to do, or will give a lot of people the opportunity to do if they pick up a deck, is the ability to explore the different environments and arenas. Like, for instance, I believe you brought up something called a denial of service, correct? And a lot of people, like, they hear these words, these terms, and it really doesn't mean that much to them. One of the things that I can do right now, if the demo gods are with us, I can share my screen and give a quick example that will allow you to see what that could look like. Let's try and share that for you. All right, so everybody should see my terminal over here. And right now, we're of course inside a very safe environment, one that I own and orchestrate. And one of the things that that people like to talk about, especially with DOS, is it's being affected by a website, or a website is being affected by it. So let me just reset my my page right here. And right now I have a server that's sitting here at 192.168.1.219 that's advocating what would be like kind of a server that allows people to post all sorts of information. In this case, super secret information is being hosted there. Well, there's a lot of operations, or a lot of opportunities where people aren't happy about what's on a website, and they get targeted to the point where what we need to understand what a DOS attack is, or denial of service, what that really looks like. And I will do one thing first. I will pull up my friend and yours, Wireshark. It's a totally free and available tool. And what Wireshark is it's a network protocol analyzer. What it does is it shows you the information that is on a network that you're connected to. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and listen through. Ooh, let me stop that. Change that. Run that as a super user with this handy smandy command. Hopefully the demo gods like me? Bam, there we go. All right, now I can access, I'm gonna go ahead any for right now. And what we're seeing right now is, nothing, just traffic, just web traffic that is within my network. So let me cancel that right quick. Ignore the red. The red doesn't mean anything. It's just how it's outputting fragmented packets and whatnot. And right now we're at 192.168.219. So it should show if I do IP address equals, and this syntax is just it's just like applying a filter to any type of web search that you do. So I'll go 168.1.219, and then let's see if we got some. And then we'll see right here, we got communication between my machine here and that machine there, right? Whatever's hosted over here. So this is the place where we're going to hopefully launch some disruption toward this endpoint or this server to make it stop communicating or stop serving up that web page, or make it a little bit more difficult for other people, right? So normally there's a lot of advanced ways to do it, but right now, for the sake of time and effort, I will do something pretty simple so that we can see what people are talking about when they say a denial of service attack, right? It's normally anything that interrupts service to what should be standing for a website. So that's anything from someone getting access to this actual machine and just cutting it off. That could be denial of service. Getting in and changing the web page. That could be denial of service. Or sending repeated ping requests at it can be denial of service. So give me 1 second. Boom. And then for this, I'm just going to use a simple tool, and I would like to get let me get this up for you, so just so that you can just watch what's going on here, because it looks pretty normal right now. Boom, 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 boom. So let's just go. There we go. I can't type today. So I'm going to run as super user. What am I going to use? Let's use hping3. And what do we want to do? Send. So we're going to do send, and then we're going to flood it. And then I'm going to be a little verbose, and maybe because it's a website, we're going to identify a port, and that port is going to be 80, and then I'm going to give it my target. My target is 192.168.1.21, not 11, 9. And we should be able to go. Hold on just a second. I just forgot my password. Let's see. Oh. Hold on, let's try it again. Hmm. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's try that again. Okay. So right now, having a little bit of technological issues. I wonder, hold on, let's just do this then. I tested it earlier. The demo guides are not with me, guys. Stand by. Okay. Hold on, I got a chat question. Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I will pivot off of this because of the interest of time. Let me go ahead and pop out of the share. Sorry, guys. What I wanted to do is pivot over the Veda, and I believe that she has a use case that she'd like to discuss.
Yes, yes. So, and thanks, Nico. I just wanted to show the participants really quickly. It's one thing to talk about, you know, the overall approach of how you're doing something, but it resonates a lot better if you show a use case of how our awareness is actually applied. So I will actually attempt to share my screen. Let's see. And hopefully everyone can see my screen. And so I just wanted to talk about a particular session that we actually conducted in the city of Baltimore. And so this particular class that you see are the amazing students at Carver Vocational Technology High School in Baltimore. Baltimore City Schools, for those of you who are not aware, they share a similar plight of Chicago public schools. But it's very interesting in terms of Baltimore because their funding is like significantly sparse. And so there's a lot of things that, you know, we may actually think are normal and common that the students should be receiving in just in terms of the facilities, education, resources, and it's very limited. If anything, the teachers are left to provide whatever they can based off of their own funding. So we went out to Carver Vocational Technology High School is to do what we call an awareness session. And what you see here is the students after the session, very excited. They've learned something specific about their city and the statistics that are actually out there and what's actually occurring online. And we actually did what we call a scenario. And we did games and demos as well to give them an example of what can happen when they're online. And so the focus of this is really to show, you know, as fast as we're moving in technology, I mentioned this early on, is that young people don't necessarily understand what they do in the physical world. They feel like they can apply the same concept to what they do in the digital world, and that's not the case. And so in this particular forum, our volunteers who are from the intelligence community actually provided them an understanding of, they went out and looked at their teachers' social media page. and her students are on there conversing. They randomly selected a social media handle from one of her students that they perceived was her students, and they ran a profile on that handle. And all they had was the handle of that. They didn't have anything else. And what they were able to find is pretty much quite a bit of identifiable information on the person, where they lived, the other variety of email addresses that were associated with that handle, et cetera, to show them that although you may have, your social media handle, you may be trying to use multiple accounts to try to be anonymous, et cetera. Human nature is for you to leave identifiable information, because that's just how our human brains work, right? In order for us to remember things. And so they were able to provide a profile, and I wanted to I don't know if you can hear this, so I tried to turn it up as much as I can, but I just want to quickly show you a clip from that session and the students' response to what they saw. And this gentleman right here is Avron. He's one of our analysts for PUC.
They give you, you're talking to them, and they don't know your real name at this point. You just tell them, I'm in Miss Hall's class, or I go to Carver. So just doing a basic search, I found a student or a former student from Carver. Just through their Instagram, I was able to go onto Facebook, onto Miss Hall's Facebook, find her real name, just by looking at pictures, pivot off of that information, find all of her family, or a good amount of her family. Through different comments, I was able to find out her grandma, and then from there, I was able to find out her grandma's address. So just all this information. Is that a girl with the winner, Nico? So you don't need to be a FBI agent or a CIA intel person to find out this type of information. You can be just an average person. Just from one piece of information, you can find all of this right here. And so this type of information is what somebody looking to target somebody looking. If you're doing this, think of somebody who's really determined what they can do.
I believe you gotta think it's like effort you put into this. Like you said, I believe you was like it takes months and years. If you just be stalking somebody for months and years.
But you don't necessarily know it's stalking. You're just having a conversation. It may just be somebody that you meet, and they're just having a conversation with you when you're talking, and it can just be just back and forth, and you're not thinking nothing about it. There's no danger, imminent danger.
And to compile this information, it took me less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
That's crazy. It's not weird to me, it's just so satisfying. So I think watching these things where the parents and this man would text the parent would get the daughter information or the son information, that social media, and they would have the man text the daughter and see what that daughter want to do, how she want to respond, how she want to meet her. And I be watching that stuff, and it's on YouTube. So they will actually talk to the person, and they will actually give the person the address and go where to meet them at. And when they meet them, they see it's a grown man or something, they free. And then the parents are like, well, you should never text that person, then you should never tell them where you live and give the person information. But it all happened on Snapchat.
You can investigate the child and you move them around from place to place, and they have sex with different people. But I was on the track. That's what we're trying.
So hopefully, I need to stop sharing. So that was just an example of one of the sessions that we have, and I'm not sure if you all could hear that clearly because it was playing from my computer. But what came out of that is one of the students actually was talking as if they were speaking of a friend, of a situation that was occurring And I learned from the teacher that this student was actually being sexually abused by an uncle. And she was staying with her uncle and aunt because she didn't have a place to stay. But she was talking as if she was talking about a close friend. And she was communicating with this person via text messages and group chats and things of that nature. But it was really her uncle that was doing that to try to hide his activities of trying to gain access to his niece. So when we learned that, and we were able to share some information with the teacher as well as with local law enforcement to provide them a potential lead. And we always start the sessions with letting the young people know if anything is shared within those sessions that we deem as something that would do the students harm, we would most definitely have to and have an obligation to report that. But again, what's interesting is that the students don't necessarily understand the consequences of providing too much information online. They're just communicating. But that's just one example of how we're showing a use case of where we leverage technology in order to identify and provide a profile on the person. And in fact, the kids have an interest in wanting to learn what that job is, right, in cyber. And we have partners where we offer free cyber awareness training and opportunities for them to actually conduct a sample scenario on their own. And so I just wanted to share that with the participants as well. Thanks, Nico.
Awesome. Thank you. As a matter of fact, I think you showing a successful demonstration of the capabilities that occur when you bring awareness to the young minds. I think that appeased the demo god. So I think I can demonstrate again the actual DOS attack. So I'm just gonna flip over really quickly and share my screen, and then I'll let's share. All right. And again, remember, we're talking about the denial of service, mostly being targeted toward websites, and it can be anything again from changing the web page that should pop up once you go to that website, or just unplugging the device, or sending an abundance of traffic. So right now in this scenario, our target is at 192.168.1219, and it's a very it's a outward facing web server that that people use to communicate with different businesses. In this case, it's just a discourse server. And what you see here in my screen here, just normal traffic every day. Everything's nice and orange, nothing alarming that's occurring. And over here on my attack box, I've actually gone ahead and placed in our target, and of course port 80, because port 80 is the port to which web information is being displayed, or HTTP traffic is communicated. And so let's see what happens when we send this attack here, shall we? So as you see, we almost instantaneously went red, and there's a abundance of traffic that is being sent from my machine to the other. And what I did was I decided to get no requests or no replies back. So I'm not looking for replies. I'm just sending a ton of requests. So right now, all you saw was red, and that's cool. But what does that really do? So as a person starts to try and navigate on their web page that is supposed to be more resilient and pop up, we see things to start to slow down. As we go to the different pages, things definitely start to become laggier and slower. And right now, because it's a simple DOS attack, this is just a single machine going at a server. imagine if there was maybe 2 or 3 machines doing the same thing in concert, then we can definitely expect to see this machine no longer start to function, because we're seeing it actually rather lethargic with just one machine going at it. So let me stop the share here. That is one of the ways that, because sometimes people are they're visual learners, I think it's very important for us to be able to demonstrate and show the different capabilities of the cards and the real use cases that can occur when you're playing that really neat card game, Cyber Threat Defender, that Barrington introduced to the group. So again, I want to thank both you and you, Veda, and you, Barrington, for bringing in some really great concepts, some really important stuff for us to know and understand. And we're at 6:56 right now, and I guess we should open it up for any questions that may be out there in the crowd. Okay, so I'm seeing, here we go. All right, so I got a question. How can students use my environment? The way that students will be able to utilize my environment simply comes based upon a need. It has to be a need that's identified, and through relationships, either with students and educational environments, or some type of third-party interaction, then they would be able to get access to my environment, to learn, grow, to play, to learn about cybersecurity, to test their cybersecurity skills. Those are the type of services that I'm looking to provide. And definitely, I guess this is a question for, I think, for all three of us. How can cybersecurity training help students protect themselves? I would say awareness and knowledge prevents mistakes and helps them to behave in a much safer method. I'll pass it off to either Veda or Barrington if you guys have anything that you want to throw in.
No, I think you hit it right on the head. Awareness and education, also making it relevant. I think we sometimes use the traditional approach of teaching, and as you all are more than aware, it loses the students. They have various different ways of how they cognitively reason and look at the world and how they interact. And so trying to be and continue to be as innovative and creative as possible when you're trying to execute what it is that you're trying to teach, so that they can grasp it and make it as something that is real time, it's reality, it impacts them and they can relate to it. I think that's also something that's important as well.
I just wanted to add, I feel like cybersecurity training could help them not only with like job awareness and job pathways, just through like the training itself, they become interested in cybersecurity because of the training, but also they'd know what, if they learn anything at all, they'd learn the small steps that they could take to protect themselves from different, like, various attacks on themselves. Whether how big it is, it doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't really matter in like the grand scheme, but like if they could take like one thing away from it, it would help. I feel like a lot. If they just, set up like a firewall or something like small. If they learn a couple principles from the cybersecurity training, that's helpful as well. So yeah,